Hello! Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'm making this in hopes that maybe, somehow, it will help in fixing these annoying bugs I have experienced since hotfix number 6 dropped. I figured a visual and a timeline would work better than my giant wall of text on the forums. Maybe a dev will see this and make something of it. I know this is a little over the top, but I do it for clarity's sake, and a little for my own, because it was a little shocking how fast things seemed to get messed up after the hotfix came out. I'm just trying to make sense of it all myself, as I and many others have spent a lot of time with the system since the old piece dropped. So having progress just seemingly botched like this is rather upsetting. I'll be providing dates, times in both my local time of EST and in UTC to match the daily resets, as well as in-game screenshots and screenshots with timestamps from a Discord chat with a friend where we were discussing the Kim conversations. I blurred irrelevant details and messages unrelated to my bug problems. Again, I just hope this helps in some way by showing the series of events that happened after the hotfix went live. I apologize in advance for being redundant. Let's start back on January 7th, 2026, the day before hotfix number 6 went live. I had gotten Roth to a confess feelings conversation, but didn't want to ask to date via the chat. I figured I would wait until the next day, January 8th, 2026, when the patch was set to drop to use the in-person option. The next morning, yesterday here being the morning of January 8th, 2026, I still had that same chat. Again, I was going to wait for the hotfix, so I left it where it was. Hotfix number 6 dropped a little bit before 2 p.m. EST on January 8th, 2026. And that did indeed fix the Ask to Date option for Roth. I asked Roth to date around 3 p.m. and went to see how the chat may have changed with the updated status. I started the Kim chat with him around 3:16 p.m. EST. As the flag for dating him had changed, of course, so did the chat that was available. I also want to point out here that his profile does have a note saying he has agreed to help with the Andrade family. But I had finished going through the conversation by 3:36 p.m. EST. After, I clicked around on the Palm 2 to check all of the Triad's statuses. This was at 3:39 p.m. EST, a mere 3 minutes later, when I noticed something. The note in Roth's profile saying he was willing to help the Andrade family was now missing. Again, only 3 minutes had passed. I had no time to leave my orbiter or start a mission and hadn't left the Palm 2 interface. Please note that the conversation above is still the same conversation I had ended just a few moments ago. Concerned, I checked back on the most recent chat. This was at 3:41 p.m. EST, so 2 minutes later. The chat had changed to an entirely different set of responses than what I had originally. My answers were more or less the same, yes, but the string of Roth's responses were different. By this point, I had gone to consult a flowchart to see if I could discern what had happened. It somehow, in the last few minutes of time, had switched a flag to a path where he thinks I had reset the chats. I had not. I had firmly refused to back when he had asked. I also currently lack the digital grimoire option on my Palm 2. I couldn't reset him even if I wanted to. I was also still concerned why the Andrade family note had disappeared from his profile. To start, I do have max rank with the Andrade family. I also have all 21 of Roth's trauma logs. I spent a good deal of time to work on both, because I read they were important for getting the good outcome. I had the conversation with Roth where he had agreed to help the family back on January 5th, 2026. He confirms here that Leon had agreed to help and says I need to also convince Marie. The conversation proceeded without any problems. And Roth helping with the family had been added to his profile by the end. It was on January 7th, 2026 that I had the conversation with Marie regarding the Andrade family. This conversation also went off without a hitch and the note was added to her profile. It was concerning when she asked if I could convince Roth, as we had just settled that the day before. He was already marked as willing to help. Marie was now marked as willing to help, and Leon was the first one willing to help. The screenshot was taken on January 7th, 2026, where him agreeing to help was still the case. Curious why Roth's had changed, I decided to go back and look at the conversation we had regarding the subject. This is now back on January 8th, 2026, but much later in the evening, around 8:37 p.m. EST. Much to my shock, I had found another chat had inexplicably changed. Yes, I had logged off for a bit, hoping maybe closing and reopening the game would fix the first bug. It did not, but I cannot think of anything I had done in-game to have caused either change. And I can only guess that this conversation got changed back when the other one did earlier in the day. Let me preface this next part by saying that I know I should not treat the flowcharts I will be referencing as gospel. I know that they come from a third-party fan-made site that has no affiliation with Digital Extremes. However, they are the best resource I have when trying to make sense of what has happened, so I will be using various snippets from the charts going forward. First, we'll look at the first chat that I noticed had changed, row the rank 5, convo 3. Originally, I had the option seen on the far right here, as the dating flag was set as false. The resulting chat would have changed it to true, but again, I wanted to initiate that in person. The updated chat after changing the dating flag to true changed to this conversation tree. This conversation had followed a thread that doesn't have any booleans that would cause the changes I've encountered. If anything, it just led to an ending that suggests I was on the Roth redeemed route. The third iteration of the chat, the bugged version, contains this arrangement line. Now, it starts the same as the other one I had actually done. All but one does at this point, that first one. And there are a few ways to get to that arrangement line. But only one path matches the other messages I have in my bugged chat. Namely this one that has row the reset deal complete in it. Which means that I somehow got flagged for resetting his memories, which I must emphasize I did not do. Again, there was no time between the chat glitching to this version for me to do anything of the sort. And again, I currently don't even have the means to do it through the Palm 2. What doesn't help is that the patch notes for hotfix number 6 said the following. I guess it was only a case. Anyway, this conversation does technically end in the same result as my original conversation. But here's where I run into yet another problem. I never got that closing line. This conversation is unfinished. As seen here, I cannot scroll further down. There is nothing past that arrangement line. The chat changing itself apparently bugged out the system further, in that Roth is now not giving me new chats. This screenshot is from January 8th, 2026 at 7:14 p.m. EST, so shortly after the daily reset. Both Marie and Leon have sent new chats, but Roth has not. So, not only has this bug flagged my chat with an action I did not do, and can't even do, I'm now stuck in a limbo, where I can't progress the chats any further with Roth. Now, I have gotten one of the date capturas from him so far, and have access to the kiss scene. So, at least, that's functioning. However, that means I am currently stuck when it comes to the conclusion for Lloyd and the family. That brings us to the second bugged conversation, Roth rank 5, convo 7. Looking at the flowchart, it seems that I got tagged with Roth family fail. If this is tied to the Entrati family standing, that makes no sense because again, I do have max rank with them. This screenshot was taken shortly before I started to edit this video, and it is January 9th, 2026 at the time of editing. And as shown with the original chat, according to the flowchart, I had triggered Roth family delay. And the chat ends with Roth family motivation being ticked as true. Again, there's nothing I can think of that I did in the short time after the patch went live that would even merit such changes to the chats and flags. So, I am in a limbo state. I cannot get the conclusion I was originally set up to get with the Entrati family and Lloyd. Roth is currently not giving me any chats to rectify the problem. And what frustrates me the most is that despite the care I tried to take while navigating this system, purposefully avoiding a specific action, the game has gone and bugged and flagged me as doing it anyway. If the only fix is to reset them, which I don't even have access to at the moment, then I would still be in the same spot. I would have the flag that I desperately tried to avoid. And if this is the only option, it feels a little like I'm being punished for a situation out of my control. I had no way to influence the game to make the changes it did, not in the time frame in which it all happened. It's pretty frustrating to play by the game's apparent rules, only for it to bug out and render those moot, much less within a 5-minute period, in an instance I had seemingly very little influence. It has made me reluctant to keep interacting with the Kim system at all, at least for the Devil's Triad. Obviously, I can't do any more with Roth, but I'm afraid that somehow Marie and Leon will suddenly break too. So, I really hope there is somehow a fix to this problem that doesn't involve a reset. It spits in the face of any of the choices I made, and I'm sure the choices of many others, when engaging with the Kim chats. Moreover, it has been 4 weeks since the old piece was released. So, that would mean a reset with the once-a-day chats would mean another 4 weeks to get back to where I currently am, with the hope that it won't break again. That is the second most frustrating thing about this, because of how it just snubs the time I and many other players put into things since the update came out. I reinstalled Warframe because of the new update, and was eagerly engaging with it. I even downloaded it on my Switch so I could check specifically this part of the game while I was away from my computer. That's how invested I've gotten with it. So, again, I hope there's a fix that does not just throw out the time I've spent not just checking in daily, but grinding out the various game modes and factions and equipment I needed to even have it set up the way I had it before the hotfix. I am also aware I'm speaking more so about the time investment here, but of course there is the financial aspect too. The game's free to play, but I'm sure many people have paid to expedite things, myself included, to interact with the new content. I'm mainly concerned with my time being wasted though, when it comes to these particular issues, because the system in question is more time dependent than anything. You can't spend platinum to keep the game from bugging out and ruining 4 weeks of progress. I enjoy Warframe very much, and I'm glad I picked it back up again. I'm just a little disappointed by bugs that are so harmful to the overall enjoyment of the game, and to people's time and efforts. Thank you again for taking the time to watch this video. I'm not trying to attack anyone, but merely point out the specific problems I have, so hopefully it helps out everyone as a whole. I'm just repeating myself now when I say I hope this helps in some way and that there's a fix. I also apologize for airing out my grievances with it, and I thank you for bearing with me. I hope you all have a good one.